All right, so here we go. Let's go. It's 8:05. Let's go ahead and get things rolling. People will be joining it throughout the evening. A lot of people come in a few minutes later, but let's get started. So welcome everybody to our fifth session of Becoming a Virtual Teacher. Dave, how you doing, man? Dave is our co-partner in this endeavor that we're doing.
Yeah, I was just saying before we went live that I'm tired right now. I am tired mentally, probably more so than physically. But physically is catching up just because the lack of sleep at night is catching up to me because my mind is just spinning, probably more so coming up with questions and searching for answers, and feeling kind of inferior at times. It's almost one of those things, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I am right now. I see a lot of people shaking their heads like, yep, I'm there. So this is almost like my support group getting together with all of you guys where I can just see people saying, yeah, I feel your pain. So I'm looking forward to tonight just so I can share some of my own vulnerability and get some answers to some of the stuff I'm struggling with.
Well, Dave, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us where you're from. For those of you that are
Yeah.
joining for the first time tonight, maybe not seeing the recording after this. Who are you and what do you do? And that's it.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. So my name is Dave Schmittou. If you're watching this on my Facebook channel, you should know who I am because you're on my Facebook page. But if you are looking anywhere else and watching this, my job title by day is the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction at a school district in Michigan. See one of the staff members from Brandon here with us tonight. I won't call her out, but thanks for joining us. Prior to my time here, though, I was down in Pensacola, and I see some Pensacola people here as well, Pensacola, Florida. And I've also bounced around a few districts in Michigan prior to that. I've served as a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, at the college level, kind of do a lot of things, but none of them really, really well. So I am just excited to learn some new skills.
Awesome. I think we will learn some new skills and get some new insights tonight from our guest speaker. Well, my name is Rich Boudry. I am a principal lead of digital learning at Chick-fil-A. I was a teacher for 10 years in Michigan. I didn't report to Dave in Michigan, but I supported Dave's team as an instructional technologist after leaving the classroom and rolling into more of a coaching role. Made the jump to corporate. I've been in corporate now, corporate L&D for 7 years now, 7 years. So loving Chick-fil-A. It is truly an awesome company and excited to have the opportunity to be serving others around the nation, Chick-fil-A sandwiches and stuff, and helping people learn how to make Chick-fil-A sandwiches. So anyway, my wife is here too. She's kind of in the shadows, and she's kind of the partner in crime with Organic Learner, this little thing that we make. So she's popping real fast. She's the better half of me. So she's starting a new job with Salesforce and was a classroom teacher for 10 years as well. Actually reported to Dave. So anyway, so I'm going to hand this over to our guests tonight, guys. So tonight we have a really, really, really special guest presenter. So she comes from the classroom, in the classroom, but she's been a thought leader in this space that we're talking about for many, many, many years. Jamie, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you introduce yourself better than I probably can. So Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then from there, just go ahead and kick us off and take us into your talk tonight.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Rich and Dave. I'm super excited to be here this evening, and I'm hoping that tonight is a great opportunity for us to have some really good, rich conversation about just the state that we're currently in education. And so my background is I'm in, I think, year 16-ish of education. I have taught grades 3 and 4. I left the classroom once and went into instructional technology. I have my EDS in instructional technology and media, and was an instructional technology specialist for a little while. And then the leadership bug hit me, and I said, I want to be a leader. And part of that is I had moved from Texas to Georgia, and I had no classroom experience in Georgia. So the means by which that you get classroom experience is to go back to the classroom. So 3 years ago, I went back to 3rd grade and then began working on my leadership certification here in Georgia. So I've really kind of done a lot. When I first moved to Georgia, I was a instructional technology consultant for Fulton County Schools and worked with them for a brief period of time before coming to Fayette County Schools. We are just about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. We're a nice, small little county school system, 14 elementary schools. Everybody knows everybody. It's just a family. And I'm wearing my We Are Family shirt tonight because, you know, really that's what it's all about, is family. And so, you know, when I was approached by Rich and Bethany about this, what you know, I've talked for years about the tools that we use in instructional technology, and I was super excited to hear that you had already covered that. And you were on your way in terms of what do we do? What do we use? Where do we go? Because the reality is that that's one component. You have to know what it is you're going to do. What resources do I have? How do I navigate those resources? What platforms am I using? How am I using them? Those are critical elements. But there's an element to this piece that after 3 weeks, I can tell you is just as important as what tools am I using. And that's the mindset that you are carrying with you in this journey. To give you a little background, the week of March 11th, we got an email in our inbox. You know, it's a crazy time. We're getting ready for state testing, and it's just that time of year. Teachers are busy. We can't take one more thing. We're exhausted. And an email hits our inbox, and we're sitting out at recess, and we start talking. We're like, oh my gosh, you know, we got to take this online learning module. I mean, my goodness, what in the world? We're those gripey teachers. We're like exhausted. We're tired. We're getting ready for the testing season. The last thing we want is one more thing to do. And, you know, to us at this point, this wasn't a thing. This just wasn't a thing yet. And so, you know, we were griping. We were those teachers griping about one more thing. And so that was Wednesday. And so by Thursday, we're like, okay, all right, what teachers do, we'll figure it out. We've got this. We'll do it Friday afternoon. You know, we have a planning afternoon, no big deal. We'll do it Friday afternoon. So by Thursday, we had gotten over our grumbles, and we were in the acceptance stage of, you know, moving into this journey of we'll do this online module. Who cares, right? And so I get home from school, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden I'm watching all of the Atlanta metro schools all of a sudden saying school's out for the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, whoa, what in the world? So I'm texting my team and saying, are y'all watching the news? What is going on? And within 10 minutes, my watch is buzzing, my phone is buzzing, I'm getting robocalls, I'm getting texts, I'm getting emails, and it's, you know, Fayette County Schools, teachers will report tomorrow, students will not. And so at that point, we went from Wednesday gripers to Thursday in acceptance to this point of, wait, what's happening? Like, this is crazy. And so we go in on Friday, and we, you know, we all gather as a staff, and we talk about where we are and what we have to do and how we have to prepare for one week of virtual learning. And they said, if you want to prepare for 2, just in case, I mean, you can prepare for 2. And we're like, no, like, this is insane. We're not going to be out for 2 weeks, thinking that like most of Metro Atlanta had lost their mind. So we prepared for 1 week of virtual learning, using everything we normally do, not going too crazy. And, you know, navigated through that, started week 1 and started on Monday. And Monday was okay, but Monday was rough. Like, it was, what just happened here? And so like Monday evening, I'm like, I guess I can do this for a week. And on Tuesday, the governor said, oh, wait, no, we're not going to go back to school in March. And so that was like that pow, right? I had just come to accept that I can maybe do 4 more days of this insanity. And then I'm like, okay, nope, doing 2.5 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Okay, I can do 2.5 weeks. I got this. I can do 2.5 weeks. I just have to change what I'm doing. Day 1 didn't do it. So 2.5 weeks. Okay, wrap your mind around it. So as a team, we're like, we've got this, 2.5 weeks. And then 2 weeks in, the governor says, no, we're not going back this year. This is it. And so, you know, we hit that moment where you've had, everything came so fast. It came so fast that you had no time to process the pieces. And by the time the governor said, we're not going back to school this year. It was tears. It was emotions. It was emotions for every element that you couldn't understand, every emotion that you were frustrated about, every emotion that just didn't make sense to you. I understand why Governor Kemp did what he did. I understand why President Trump's doing what he's doing. I understand why our district is doing what our district is doing. But yes, shell shockwaves. It really was that moment of how do we process this? And I was actually in a Zoom with my mentor for one of my final papers for my administrative certificate. And, we're working through some pieces of, just simple things that I needed to get done. And she said, yeah, my husband, who also works for the county, said that school's out for the rest of the year. And I was like, nope, la, 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 la. I can't hear this. I can't hear this. And my very first response after I got off that Zoom call was, after I realized it was real, was I went to Flipgrid and did a short. If you're not using Flipgrid shorts, they're great. They get videos out quick and painless, and you don't wait 60 hours for them to upload. And it was an emotional one because it was literally in the minutes after finding out I wasn't walking back into that room with those kids this year. But I wanted it to be emotional because I wanted my parents to realize I have not asked for this. None of us have asked for this. And I want to be with their kids. I want to be in the classroom with their kids. I want to finish this year with their kids. And how much that moment shook me in terms of being their kid's teacher. And so I think the across the country, we're all dealing with different patterns of this. For us, this is spring break. I know, Dave, you were saying that where you are, you've had spring break and now you're going into this. So across the nation, depending on where we are in terms of where our spring breaks were or where we were in the journey of our state making a commitment, we're all in a different emotional state here. And we're all looking at this vastly different. And I think that tonight, what I want to talk about are the key pieces that that you do to navigate not just the instructional element of what we're doing here, but the piece that's us, the people behind the computers that are trying to deal with all of the questions of how do I teach, but then how do I just be human in this? How do I have those human aspects of hurt, of sadness, of frustration, of anger, and just go through and process all those pieces. And so tonight, I want to get some good conversation going to talk about, just some key pieces of what all of that really is.
Jamie, if it's okay, I want to chime in with just a couple of little nuggets. You hit on a lot of things I know a lot of us are dealing with and struggling with, the emotional piece of this. And, I'm wondering, and you don't have to necessarily expound on this or not, but, hearing the news about your school district and it coming out in small chunks, as opposed to on the first day, just knowing school is done for the rest of the year and how devastating and scary that might have been compared to it being somewhat manageable the first night, do this learning module, then a week, then 2 weeks. I'm wondering if that helps because in my district, for example, teachers are just going to be starting this experience this coming week. And so 2 weeks ago, we heard that school is just shut down. Nobody knew what was happening. Then we went into spring break. Then the governor just came out on Thursday, just literally 3 days ago, and said, okay, now school is done for the whole year. So teachers haven't had an opportunity to do those bite-sized chunks yet. And now they're jumping into it brand new. It's almost like they were just thrown into the deep end, knowing that this is going to go on until forever in our minds. We might not ever see our kids again. Does it help you process things in those chunks, knowing, okay, a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, a month at a time, as opposed to focusing on the next 10 to 12 weeks?
I think it did. I think we probably were at an advantage in terms of getting those moments to process. What I think we may have done wrong was, because we only looked at it as a 1 or 2 week thing, is we probably didn't put the preparation in that schools may have put in, knowing, okay, this is the long haul. We really were kind of in crunch mode. We were like, here, throw this, let's plan out 5 days in Google Classroom and we'll be good to go. So I think that probably emotionally you can process it a little better in the steps that we did. I think our mistake was just preparation. We've had to, as a county, come back several times and renegotiate almost what this looks like, because we haven't ever navigated these waters. So, you know, those first few weeks was, okay, just navigate the waters, just get to that point. And then a couple weeks ago, they said, okay, we're going to have a county-wide schedule, and this is what this is going to look like. And, you know, for us, we were already kind of in the pattern. We were moving. So there's where that frustration comes in, because wait, we already have a system that's kind of working for us. And now you're coming with a new plan. And to me, that's where there's a lot of grace needed to happen. You have to have grace for yourself. You have to say, whoa, it's okay. You're gonna be all right. But you have to have grace for your district leaders, because you don't know what you don't know. You have to have grace for your superintendent. We have a phenomenal superintendent who's sadly retiring here in Fayette. But phenomenal superintendent. We have wonderful assistant superintendents. Our district leadership's phenomenal. And so having grace for where they are is important. Having grace just to have it, and that element of my principals reporting to somebody who's reporting to somebody who's reporting to somebody. And so when that principal sends that email after email after email after email to you, having grace, knowing that that principal is just simply taking information from someone else, and they are all working with information I don't have. You know, when those things happen, you can get emotional about it, or you can say, you know, what's within my control here and what isn't. And the district schedule is not within my control. No one handed that off to me. So what it is within my control is how I process that, how I take that and say, okay, now what's that look like for me and my kids?
I think that's great. The grace piece, I think, is powerful. And I think it's something we're all recognizing and realizing. And one of the things I keep talking about is taking this obstacle and turning it into opportunities. You know, and I think one of the opportunities we have right now is for us all to look at each other on equal footing. Whether you're a teacher or an administrator, none of us have ever been down this path before. And I know oftentimes we struggle in the administrator realm, where we think we have the answers. I was successful in the classroom. Just do things the way that I did them and you'll be fine. Well, right now, none of us can say that. None of us have ever been down this road before. And we all just have to lean into each other and say, I guess we'll figure this out together, like truly together. And it's okay to say, I don't have any idea right now. And everybody should be okay with accepting that as an answer right now. You don't have to have answers for anything. You need to be willing to do as you guys have done in your district and county, is just retool things often. I look at that as an opportunity for you. The fact that you've gone a couple of weeks and you say, okay, now we just need to flip the script and change the schedule again. That's okay, because we've never been there before.
Dave and Jamie, though, I'm a teacher. I've got to be in control, and things got to be perfect, right? That's now you've just taken me out of my kingdom, my classroom, where I am always in control and I have the wheel and I know where this ship is headed once I close my door and get to work with my kids. So what do you do with that mindset? Because I know that's a big chunk of how we are as teachers. That's just in us. We need to have control of that. And now you've just taken that control, and oh my gosh, I'm just swimming in the pool. My mind is everywhere. How do you get that? How do you get to that place, that mindset where it's like, okay, I've accepted where I'm at, and now I can move forward? What have you seen, Jamie, and with the people that you're dealing with in the last 3 weeks? How that's
I think it's adapting, and teachers are good at adapting. That if we're good at anything, we can adapt. You throw something at us, we can do it. We can, here's the new progress monitoring. Here's the new thing you have to do. We're good at adapting, but you're right. We like structure. We got into this job because it was like Groundhog Day. We just do it over and over and over again. So I think that the biggest piece here is accepting that you are going to have to adapt differently. It's kind of like the first week of school or the first day of school in virtual learning. It really is. And that first week of school is like, I don't know what's going on. Like, there's kids and they don't know what to do, and I've told it that one, right? So we know what the first week of school feels like, and that's kind of like do-over here. It is kind of getting yourself in that place where you say, okay, well, how do I survive that first week of school every single year? And you put on that mindset, and you approach it with, last year this worked with this group, but doesn't work with this group, so we adapt. So in this case, I tried this on day one, didn't work, need to adapt. So for instance, on day one, I tried Google Meet, and I put my whole class in there, which is 28 and 9-year-olds. And I went, I know this ain't gonna work out. They were super excited to be there, and they found the chat, and it was just, it was out of my control. I could not operate. Like, this does not work. So I said, what's natural to me? Well, small groups are natural to me. That's natural to me. It's natural to them. They know how that works. They don't know how this works. Whole group, no. Whole group doesn't work in the classroom. It certainly doesn't work out here. So I said, why do I know? What do they know? And so that afternoon, I said, hey, parents, new plan. We're going to small groups. I created a structured schedule. I grouped them just like I did in the classroom. And I said, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., this is my group. 9:30, this is my group. 10, this is my group. See you there. And I knew that on day 2 that it could either epically work out or epically fail. And I was prepared for either at that point. And day 2 rolled around, and 16 of my 20 were in their right small group that they needed to be in on that day. And so I went, okay, all right, so this will work. But the reality is, there are teachers that are doing what I'm doing. There are teachers who are doing 1 Zoom a week and recording most of their lessons. There's such a variety of how people are approaching this, and there's no right way. The way I'm doing it is right for me, because it means every day I see at least 16 to 20 of my kids. Every day I have, 4 or 5 little mini conversations. I see their faces, and it's right for me. And I can do a very small 20-minute lesson to review something, and it's comfortable for me. That does not mean it's comfortable from anybody else on my team. I'm the only one on a team of 5 who's doing it exactly the way I'm doing it. So my teammates choose to do a whole group meeting and have everybody on and plan out the day. I choose to do a 5-minute morning meeting video. The kids open up the video, watch it, and then navigate the day. Because if they get up at 7 a.m. and they want to get busy, I want them to get busy. That doesn't mean my way is right or the way my teammates are doing is wrong. It's just what's working for me, and how have we each adapted to a place that gets us to where we're comfortable and we can navigate this.
So what is the expectation from your district? Does everybody have to have so much contact time with kids? Is it really flexible, or?
Well, it's very interesting. We're still navigating that. So when we first started, it was everybody will have virtual office hours from 9 to 10:30 daily. And that was across the county. So that's 24 schools all going virtual office hours at the same time. I think we quickly realized that wasn't working out. I'm doing this. I have a 5th grader and an 8th grader. So if we're all on Zoom at the same time, none of us are getting anything done. So through that transition to, I think teachers making their own kind of pattern. Our secondary schools, the reason our schedule will change was because our secondary schools were doing what was natural to them, which is, here's what you need to do for me today. Well, that's 7 teachers. Here's what you need to do for me today. And the way our Infinite Campus is set up, emails come to me and my 8th grader. And I literally looked at him on day 2 and I went, I hope you're keeping up with this, because I have no clue. We could have a phenomenal middle school, phenomenal teachers, phenomenal leaders, but none of us had navigated this before. We didn't even know what it looked like. Unless you're sitting as a parent of a secondary student in this county, you couldn't even visualize what that would look like. So the new schedule was designed to give us 1 day for 1 subject. So in secondary, each day of the week, they will be doing math 1 day and history 1 day and science 1 day, which will mean they are not getting all these assignments. For us, it means that we'll do an ELA day, a math day. We'll have a Wednesday off day. We'll do another ELA day and another math day. Because I don't like exactly not doing one of those 2 subjects a day, the way I navigate that is if it's an ELA day for the county, I teach math in my small group. And if it's a math day for the county, I just offset it so that works for me. It's really just about navigating however you can. And the county, I think, has come up with the best possible option for K through 12. that will, you know, give everybody some flexibility and allow this to get done.
Can I just I want to say something. I keep hearing adapting and evolving. You know, that to me is that mindset, knowing that I now have to adapt and evolve. So you know, maybe I've been a teacher for 10, 15 years. I've got a set routine. I shouldn't have to adapt and evolve anymore. But now you said it a lot. We have to just adapt and evolve. So once I'm to that place, Jamie, that I'm accepted, like, okay, this is like the first day of school all over again for me, right? What are some, you know, we talk about mindset. We've got the mindset. Okay, I have to start learning. I have to take this on. What are some of what skills do I need to do what's expected of me now in this new virtual world? And if I
Well,
don't have those skills, how do I get them?
Yeah, and I'll expound on that. I feel like in my own world, I feel like I've been living in this nice, comfortable, cozy penthouse apartment. Everything was working functionally. I came home from work one day and then everything was broken. I'm looking around, my couch is on the ground, my TV is shattered. And then I go out into the garage and realize I don't have any tools. So I go to Home Depot and just grab every tool I can find off the shelf and I just have them all scattered on the floor. And I'm like, I have no idea what tool to pick up to do the next thing. Like, I have no idea if I'm picking up the wrench or the hammer or what the difference is and where to even go next. I know it's broken. I know I've got a bunch of tools, but now what?
Well, I think the first thing is vulnerability. The first thing I realized was that I was not only teaching kids, but I was teaching their parents in the background. And it's the first time ever where parents have sat and watched me teach. And so that moment I went, oh, fun. I'm teaching math to a little girl whose mom is a state math coach. And one day we're doing math and I asked her how to tell me how she solved the question and I wasn't real sure what she said. So her mom said, oh, she made number bonds. And I was like, oh, cool. Because I hadn't taught her that, right? Her mom did, which is wonderful. The key there is I have a great relationship with her mom. So that's the other piece, vulnerability and relationships. I am vulnerable enough to say, hey parents, I tried Nearpod whole group. It didn't work out. It was terrible. Thanks for watching me do that. I promise you, we do this in the classroom and they know how to do it. But I'm vulnerable enough to say it just didn't work out here. And I won't do it again. Just vulnerable enough to accept that I'm going to try some things and they're going to be pretty terrible. And parents are going to watch me bomb. That's just the reality. And you really have to get to a place where you laugh at yourself in the matter, because the day that I did Nearpod whole group, I'm like, we do this all the time. These kids know what to do. Here's what I did not realize. I did not realize how much kids help kids. And that when one kid can't get the code, another one leans over and helps them. And that element that I've never paid attention to because we're too busy getting into Nearpod to get it going. And I'm too busy like, come on, y'all, let's rock and roll. What I've never noticed is kids helping kids. When I went to this platform, I was like, oh, okay, they need some help. And I'm not there and no one else is there to help them. And so I had to give myself some grace there and just be a little vulnerable and say, hey, it just didn't work. You know, they're going to be student-paced from now on. But you know, being vulnerable in that regard is just you gotta let go of some of that stuff that we've carried as teachers, because we have carried this pride of every lesson spot on, and if you're observing me, it's great. And I think that's the new norm, is that you're going to have some moments where it's not going to be great, and there's a whole different audience watching you.
So it's okay. It's okay if I'm not tech savvy.
And I think that's probably the hardest piece to me. I think the teachers who are most fearful about navigating that world is the ones who are afraid of the technology aspect. And then now there's a whole new audience watching. And so if you have, I don't have a technology, but if you aren't comfortable in that technology realm and now you have kids and parents watching you, it's a hard road to navigate. And so, you know, it's difficult. And that's why the relationships piece is big to me. If you've had great relationships with your kids and your parents, and you're going into this with great relationships, I found this has been so much easier because I can just drop something and remind. I had one morning where Zoom kicked me out 10 times. And little did I know there was like a tornado-ish coming, and it tore trees out of the ground and knocked over, my basketball court. And but I literally took a picture of myself with my son and I in my green like Flipgrid pod, and sent it to my parents. And I said, March wins, I'm tapped out, and just sent a picture of that to my parents. But it's because I've built that relationship with them. Like, I can send that to them. They just realize I just didn't work out today, y'all. Sorry. And they knew it. The kids were frustrated. I was frustrated. One of my kids was like, I'm host. I got to be host, Miss Van Griffin. I was like, oh boy, great. But those relationships allow me to kind of just extend to them and laugh at myself with them and say, this is hard. But then the other side of that relationship, y'all, is I've had so many parents send me the longest messages saying, we see you. We see you fighting for our kids. We see you getting consistent 88 emails about what needs to change. And we appreciate you, and we need you to know that. And y'all, that makes the difference. When you have parents who feel that piece, you get up and fight another day.
Do you feel like the other teachers that you work with are people that you're able to lean into, or do you have to be the expert in all things for your own room? You talk about students leaning on each other. I know teachers do that oftentimes as well. They're saying, what was that expectation? When was that due? And now you don't have that. How do you form that collegial relationship when you're separated by miles as well?
Yeah, and it's hard. What's funny is I spent 3 years at the school. The first 3 years I was the technology specialist in the school, and then the last 3 years I've been in third grade. And so people rightly joke, oh, technology, Jamie will do the technology, haha, it's kind of been the gig. So when we went to this platform, you would have thought everybody had been like, hey, Jamie, what do we do? But it really was like after day one, when it was epic fail, one of my teammates, Becky, said, what about if we do small groups? And I said, Becky, I love it. It's fabulous. And on about day 3, my teammate Kimberly said, what do you think about using like the slideshows that we do in the classroom and trying to like mimic exactly what we do there? And I was like, yes, Kimberly, yes, let's do that for next week. And so what I found is that I might have that expertise in this technology realm, but I have teammates who have just common sense technology. Jamie, if it didn't work, let's try this. Jamie, this is, kind of difficult. Let's try this. And so as a team, there's a piece of where we can't see each other, but in the same token, there's a piece and everybody's kind of stepping up into their strength and contributing their strength. I have one teammate who she is great at like creating things. She creates and imports and drafts and puts it all together and sends it to us. And so I think in our team, we've each kind of jumped into like what we are good at, and it's in a hyperdrive right now. And now we're all contributing those pieces to the overall success of just getting through these days.
Can I ask some nuts and bolts questions? Is that okay? And I know it's evolving and things are changing. Hey, you said that you found out on, I think it was like a Thursday or Friday, and then Monday you were go time. So I'm assuming that means all the kids already had tech and were already somewhat prepared for this. And if not, or if you do have those logistical issues where kids aren't able to log on, they're not able to coordinate schedules with when you're there, how do you guys respond to motivation and grading and all of those other things? It's kind of the weeds, but it's also the thing I know a lot of people are struggling with right now.
So we were fortunate here in Georgia. We have what's called EastBLOST, which is the education tax funding. And so the taxpayers of Georgia and Fayette County have consistently, year after year, approved EastBLOST for us, which has given us great opportunity to have a good chunk of money. So in the last 3 years, every student from 2nd to 12th grade is 1-to-1. And so they all have a Chromebook, 2nd to 12th grade. And and then K and 1 have class sets that stay in the classroom. So we've been navigating one-to-one for this, I think, year 3 of navigating this one-to-one. So second graders would be in their first year with these devices. Third graders would be in their second year, but everyone else has been in this world for 3+ years. We have digital learning specialists that have supported us ongoing. And what's really funny is we're moving, we'd had Blackboard for a while, we're moving to Schoology. And this spring was the training period. And we're like, we'll get trained in May. We don't need that right now. And so, this period of time comes along and, sadly it would have been wonderful if we were already there and we were already in Schoology and the whole county was in one place. But we're not, because we were literally in the pattern of training for that. So the pieces of that were difficult, but we've had opportunities to use it. Most teachers are comfortable with some element of technology. That doesn't mean that every teacher is this super techie teacher, but most everybody's comfortable with the applications. Every classroom in our schools in the county, we had, I guess we're on year 3 of that as well. We all have the Promethean boards in our classroom, so every teacher has been trained and works that. So we were in good shape in terms of resources and good shape in terms of a foundation. Those 2 pieces were in place. The elements that we're still working on in terms of nuts and bolts are grading. So we are standards based in K through 3 is standards based, and that's a roll up. So next year 4th will be standards based, and then 5th. But then secondary is standards based teaching, but not standards based reporting. So we're in this process, and so everybody's kind of in a different place. In the nuts and bolts position in terms of 4th and 5th grade in our school still giving A, B, C's, and D's. We're giving 1, 2s, and 3s. So there's those elements that are a little tricky. And so as of right now, our understanding is that we're in a holding pattern in terms of grading. If you're standards based, I feel like we're in a great place, because especially if you're a testing grade, we taught those standards before this period because they were to test. We would be going into next week, start testing on those standards. So we had taught all those standards in math and language arts. We had 3 different sets of standards left in social studies and science, and that was it. We were ready to go. So if you're standards based right now, you're in a good place, because truly you've been collecting evidence all year to justify where kids are on all but 3 components of science and social studies. If you're not, I think that's where it's a little trickier to navigate, but luckily I'm in standards based, so we feel comfortable when it comes to being able to do a final report card to say, we've collected evidence all year long, and this period of time we've just been able to see, if anything's changed. Can we change 1s to 2s or 2s to 3s to show proficiency?
I think, if it's okay for me to chime in again, some people that know me probably saw me light up a little bit when you started talking about standards based and how that's where you are. And I don't necessarily want to just talk standards-based grading, but I will say, I'm reading right now the book Call Sign Chaos, which is an amazing book. If you haven't read it, go read Call Sign Chaos. But there's a quote in the book where General Mattis makes the statement that one of the reasons America is great is because we're constantly preparing for unknown battles. And he uses that story to say that America is always preparing for the next war against the next enemy that we don't even know yet. And that's what we're doing today. And I feel like oftentimes in situations like what we're going through in education right now, we have an opportunity right now to capitalize on this, to come up with some evergreen learning that we can take into next year when we are in classrooms with our own kids, with our own students, face to face. What this struggle is magnifying for me is how unstandardized things are. And I'm not saying things have to always be the same. I think fidelity, excuse my wording here, but is the most bastardized word that we have in education today. I hate the word fidelity because people misuse it. But standardization sometimes can be extremely powerful for parents to have a standard system that they're used to, for students to have a standard expectation, and so that teachers don't have to have moving targets all the time. And I think that's what's causing so much frustration right now for so many people, is that things aren't standardized. I'm reading Beth's comments here, and Beth is an elective teacher, a special area teacher, a music teacher, and she's trying to struggle and balance within her own school a bunch of different systems to communicate with her parents. I'm a parent right now. I've got 4 kids, that go to 4 different schools, and I can tell you that I am in a whirlwind right now, and I'm a professional educator trying to figure out how to balance the expectations from every single teacher. There are buildings where students are receiving 6, 7, 10 emails a day from teachers with a variety of expectations because things aren't standardized. Again, it's not saying making things the same, but you said, your words were, we have an advantage because we have standards-based grading. It's because it's standardized, not because it's easier, because it's standardized and everybody speaks the same language.
Yes.
I think that's an opportunity for us right now, is to use this time to make sure that we're all speaking the same language and talking and reaching consensus on where to go next. Sorry, I had to go there, but I think it's a powerful point.
You would get along very well with my assistant superintendent, Dr. Julie Turner. And there's been a lot of pushback on, I'll be honest, there's a lot of teachers who have not liked this. And there are aspects that are frustrating about it. But I think this is probably going to be her victory lap, honestly, because those of us who are here will say it was so much easier because we've all year been able to document, are they showing proficiency? I've had kids for months showing proficiency in these standards. So I don't need any more evidence to show these kids are showing proficiency. I've shown it all year. And I have kids who are showing that they, have been working within proficiency. Well, maybe they show me something in these last few weeks that I say, you know what, they've got it now, maybe some help from home help them get it. So yeah, it's a perk. But I mean, it's a crazy place to be right now. And I think any perk you have, you run with.
So
go ahead, Rich, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want to do a quick time check with all of us. It is 8:45, and I want to make sure that tonight we have a small group with us. So 2 things. One, I'd love to get some of your, we talked about the mindset, some about the skill set, and a little bit about the tool set. If you wouldn't mind, you could just share out a few of your favorite tools that you're using right now that we could all use in the classroom. And then second thing, I would love to actually, because it's a small group, let people ask you a few questions. Is that all right? Dave, do you mind? Is that cool too with you?
So, yep.
Okay, cool. So if you would kick it off with tool set for a little bit, and then we'll jump in and give everybody a few minutes to ask questions.
Well, I've tried to stay with the things that we've used all year. I've thrown in a couple new things that I wanted to try, but I've really stuck with what do my kids know how to navigate. And so Google Classroom is where we began, and it was helpful for a bit, but anything of course that I need to get a copy to every kid, we're still filtering through Google Classroom. But we use Google Slides in the classroom, and basically every single morning they come in, there's a morning slide, there's an ELA slide, there's a math slide, there's a social studies and science slide. They know as we navigate through our day what goes down. So now we literally run from a Google slideshow. And so there's a Monday slide and a Tuesday slide. I hyperlink everything onto the slide. And so I record my morning message, I hyperlink that in, I add the hyperlink for Zoom in for each day of the week. And then I do the 2 tasks they need to complete. We were told that every kid needs to have 30 minutes of PE, art, music, something. And so I was like, what do I do with that? Like, I'm not the PE, art, music. I mean, how do I navigate that? So I created a Padlet. And each day they go in and they drop on the Padlet what art, music, or PE activity they did. I have it set to allow them to comment and to like, but I will tell you, I've spent all year teaching these kids responsible academic behavior. So they know I moderate 98% of what we do, but I felt like on that Padlet, we were good to go, and they've been great, no problems at all. So a Padlet is somewhere, it's low key for me, it's low maintenance. I don't have to do anything. They literally drop on, ooh, I rode a bike with my parents this morning, and they're posting pictures of playing basketball. One of my kids, his dad is a stunt double for Pinewood Studios, and they were out in the driveway doing like kickboxing, and so they had pictures of that. So it's a super easy place. They just drop it, and I just go in and comment on each one. and say, I'm so glad you got out today, or love that you're doing it with your family. I click one sentence on each one each day, and it's easy peasy. And then usually a science or social studies activity that they go to that's linked at the bottom. In terms of additional tools, Nearpod, but student-paced, learn the lesson the hard way there. Student Nearpods, and they have Time to Climb now. If you've not seen Time to Climb, if you're working in elementary anyway, Time to Climb is super fun. It's 10 questions. It's competitive. It's kind of Kahoot-esque in that they answer the 10 questions, and then there's a leaderboard, and ultimately they try to beat me. I do use Kahoot challenges as well. But I did learn this about that, and this is the risk failure, right? There's things I do in the class that work great. They aren't working here. And one of that is the differentiated mode in Kahoot. Well, the problem with the differentiated mode in Kahoot is that it makes them download the app, the iOS or the Android app. So then my parents were like, I don't know what to do. So do not choose differentiated. As much as we love that word in education, if you choose it, it's a big old headache for parents. So I push out the Kahoot challenges on occasion as well.
I think we froze for everybody. Jamie.
Yeah, I see everybody looking up. So I think we're all, yeah.
Yep. We lost her. I'll let her back in just a second. Yeah, let's see if she comes back.
So I guess I'll throw out a question to the group here.
Yeah.
If anybody has an answer to this, I would love to hear it. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now, again, I'm not in the classroom right now, so maybe the struggle is just me. But my struggle is trying to figure out when to turn it on and when to turn it off throughout the day. And by on and off, I don't mean the computer, I mean the job. I feel like it's now, and it's always been a 24/7 job, but more so now than ever. So I'm wondering, just like within your day, how do you schedule yourself, and how do you schedule the synchronous or the real time or the asynchronous, the anytime stuff? Because again, there's all these tools that people are using, and they're trying to figure out how to build them into their instruction. But I also know there's a wide range of expectations from district to district as to how much time you're supposed to be putting in. But parents and students also have an expectation that you're going to respond when they submit something, or that you're going to be there when they sign in. So does anybody have an answer to that? I see a lot of shaking. Maybe you don't, because you're all shaking your head yes, like you feel it too. Like, what does that look like for you in your head or in your heart or on paper? Tomorrow, if you're not on spring break, tomorrow, what does it look like? Do you go from 8 to 4 and then turn it down? Or is it 8 to 12? Is it 9 to 11? I just give me something realistic to go for. And if anybody can unmute yourself and say, I have no idea, or just tell me what your plan is.
I date our tech guy at my school where I teach, and he's working literally 80 hours a week. I mean, he's just, bombarded, 10, 11 o'clock at night, he's getting emails from principals, expecting responses. And we have two guys that work in our school, and they are totally overwhelmed, and he's exhausted. Yeah. I mean, he has his kitchen sink that's clogged, and he can't even get to the kitchen sink because he's afraid to not respond. And he's salaried, so it's not, all 80 hours work. Exactly.
I'm texting people as I'm talking to you, so I feel it. Because
So
you feel guilty.
Right. So, like I said, he's going crazy. And then like I get emails on my phone and stuff. And it's just like, I just want to say, okay, office hours from here to here. I'm available, from 8 to, regular school day from 7:30 to 4:30. But then afterwards, then I need to be for my family. I want to be a good teacher. So I'm struggling with that. But at the same time, it's hard to have an evening, to have that downtime when I feel like I'm 24, like I'm expected to be there 24/7. So that was my comment.
I appreciate that. And I know it is a balance. I don't want to come across by complaining at all. I'm thinking, there are so many amazing tools out there, so many amazing things that we're truly trying to grab onto anything we can to engage and inspire our kids. We want our kids to be learning and growing. We want them to be responding via Flipgrid or Nearpod or all of these different things where they can truly be doing it on their own at their own time. But there's also that expectation then on our end to be there for them, to support that angle. So, and recognizing that not all kids can be with us when we're in that synchronous environment as well. So I just in the practical struggle of it, do you have that freedom to evolve it yourself? what do you need from your principal or your peers? What kind of support structures do you need as a parent and or as a teacher?
I will say one of the things that's helped me is after these meetings, I go back and I replay them for my kids. That, I have a junior kindergartner, a fourth grader, and an eighth grader. So that hopefully that, they can learn so that when it's time for them to start school, maybe they have a leg up so that we're not reaching out for their teachers so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think this is truly one of those opportunities, again, that's coming from the obstacle of, we've been talking about the productive struggle for so long. We want the students to be doing the work. I mean, Harry Wong talked about this 30 years ago, that we want our kids to be the ones exhausted, not the teachers. This is an opportunity for us to truly live that, I guess. Sorry, Jamie, I kind of took the floor when you bounced out. I said, I'm running with it. So welcome back.
But that's the thing. You have to adapt to this. This is the new normal, right? I
Right.
never just leave my classroom. That's not a thing. I just don't ever walk out. But here I might. And I think that's a scary thing too, right? I just leave my classroom and they're like all still in there. But yeah, so I think I was just at the tools, but maybe Zoom didn't like one of my tools. So maybe I should stop right there.
And that is something that we have to be aware of as well. We have to be aware, there's a lot of great tools out there. We also have to be mindful right now that there's a lot of bad press being thrown out from a lot of different companies that are all angling for your business. Some great tools out there right now are getting bad press because other companies want you to go towards their tools. And you just have to go play around with what works best for you. So, yeah.
And I'll speak just a minute to Zoom. Zoom is, yes, it's free for all of us, and there is some bad press about Zoom going on right now. I will say the articles I've been reading, they're really trying to fix it. So,
and as of today, the waiting rooms are now standard, and passwords are now standard. So, yeah.
I got hit with it today. I didn't know that it was standard, and I had to go in and anyway fix it around. It was yesterday actually, and went in a day early. So they're fixing it. The folks that are in your teams that are all freaking out about it, just let them know they're working on it. There's articles out there. They don't want to lose all this money. But also another alternative is WebEx, Cisco WebEx. They offer a very similar freemium site. It's in a lot of the same tools you see here. So all the great things we learned about virtual facilitation and how to leverage a tool like this is available with WebEx. So check that out too if you're getting pushed in another direction. So with Zoom.
And I saw the question about what happens when I drop out. It's been, the first few times I didn't know it was coming. And like I said, one of my kids was like, it made me host, Miss Vandergrift. I got to be host, which, that was great. They just kind of hang out and wait for me to come back. Luckily, I've had a lot of our school-based personnel that have jumped in. So both of my school counselors have joined us for some times. My principals jumped in a couple times. I had my AP in once. So usually I'm not the only adult in there. Usually there's at least one more adult that can, kind of navigate the plan. But it's tricky and it's uncomfortable because you're in there and then your kids are there and you feel like, oh my gosh, like I can't get in, and you're starting to feel the sweats and you're panicking a little bit. But it's the new normal. Anybody
else have any questions for Jamie? We have a few minutes left, and I just want to open up the floor for you all to ask her any questions. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? The chat has been awesome, Jamie. I'm not sure if you've been able to kind of follow that, but there's a lot of great questions in the chat that have kind of popped up. One of the questions that popped up from Beth was, you have a lot of kids without technology in your group. And how do you manage the ones that don't have tech? How do you work through that to make sure they're getting access?
I think that's where parents are going to be a huge, and Beth, are you teaching elementary or secondary?
K-8 music.
I'm teaching music. I'm a gen ed music teacher, K-5, and then I have a 7th and 8th grade junior high choir.
Okay, so I think that's a place where you're going to have to rely, and you're stuck relying on classroom teachers and their relationship with parents. So that's an additional element of where you are. I know our music teacher uses Quaver, but our kids have been using Quaver for, you know, a long time. And so they kind of know the drill with what that looks like. But I'd say using, you know, you're going to have to rely on those classroom teachers to kind of give you some insight into how are they navigating with those kids, and then kind of piggyback on what are the classroom teachers doing, and how can they support you in getting that out to kids.
So like none of our grade school kids, we're not one-to-one where they can actually take them home?
So KN1 is not. So they are in a place where they have created a slideshow, I believe, and it goes to the parents every day in Remind or Class Dojo or whatever the classroom teacher is using. And we also do a STEAM rotation. So there are STEAM elements that have been put onto that slide. And most of K1, I think right now is very hands-on. Some of those teachers use Seesaw, some of them do not. So if the teachers have been using a platform where they can demonstrate some understanding, that's wonderful. I think your problem is going to definitely be with teachers who are, if the classroom teachers are struggling with this, and you're relying on them, that's another element that you've got to kind of overcome.
So like we have teachers that are using Seesaw, Google Classroom, Dojo, and Classcraft. And then at the middle school level, they're using Google Classroom. I'm very familiar with Google Classroom and I'm very proficient with that, but it's the other three.
So Beth, I'm just going to say this reminds me of my days when I was a middle school principal, and people used to always say, the middle school doesn't matter. We don't care about the middle school. It's just a place people are passing through. And I used to love it. And I'd say, no, we're the hub, because what we do, everybody else has to do. The same thing is true with special area teachers. I don't know if you know who Jack Berkmeyer is, but Jack Berkmeyer made the statement that he doesn't call special area teachers or elective teachers special areas or electives. He calls them essential teachers because they are the hub. What they do, everybody else has to do. You have the opportunity to standardize the practice because you see all the kids. So if you come up with, this is what Beth Moore does, now it's up to all the other teachers to say, oh, well, it works and she's communicating with everybody. Maybe we can follow her lead.
Okay.
And additionally, I don't know about all of the platforms, but in Seesaw, you can add additional teachers. So those classroom teachers can add you to their class. I don't believe that special area teachers should be having to recreate a wheel in order to reach out to kids. So in Seesaw, I've added EIP teachers to my class. I've added my administrator to my class, so they can add you as an additional teacher. So I would see what platforms allow that, so that you could be in that class putting, you know, an activity out alongside them instead of having an additional element of something you needed to do.
Perfect. Well, guys, it is 9 o'clock. Actually, we're a little over 9, so I want to honor everyone's schedules. Sorry, I want to honor everybody's evenings. I'm feeling very corporate tonight. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to do a quick, listen, a great resource to follow. I'm going to share my screen real fast on the way out here. It's Jamie's Twitter feed. If you are not out there right now on Twitter learning every day, you should be. Twitter's a great place to do that. And Jamie has an amazing feed. You can see she's sharing out some awesome resources. I'm not sharing my screen. Oh, sorry. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Better. Now you can see Jamie's screen. I'm hoping. Is it sharing? Good. Okay. So, okay, awesome. Yeah, so you can see she gambles with her students, which is perfect. Every third grader needs to know how to gamble, right? But anyway, she shares some amazing resources, so I highly recommend following her. You know, and David and my wife Bethany, they're always sharing some great stuff out. But Jamie's got an amazing feed here, so check out what she's got going on. And my wife is telling me to keep scrolling.
Those were days after I had been out walking, so I wasn't looking my very best.
Well, you got some amazing resources here for all of us to
yeah, scroll back right there. Stop at that one. Scroll back up. This one was probably my favorite one. This was in Google Classroom, and I just happened to jump in there, and I saw I can't wait till 10 a.m. and another kid said 7 more minutes, and I was like, look, I am dragging those kids to a small group in class. I'm like, y'all, let's go, come on. And here they are, in this virtual world saying, I can't wait for small group. I'm like, are these the same kids that I'm having to say, where is your resources? Why are you here without your notebook? But yeah, no, that was probably my favorite right there.
So they're more excited. They're more engaged, right? Mark Prinsky said, engage me or enrage me, right? And that's, you're engaging them.
Yeah, and if you scroll up, this was, I think, I'm pretty sure this was day 2. I almost want to feel like it was pretty early in the game. It was literally, we do a task card scoot at my small group table. And I was like, how do I replicate that digitally? And I literally, we were lucky enough, the district said, take your document cameras home with you. So we packed up our document cameras, and I literally just replicated the task card scoot that we do at my table. I just replicated it under the document camera.
So what we should do is do another session just scrolling through your Twitter feed as well.
Yeah, do that. Give me that in a few weeks.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, everybody. It has been a great session. Dave, did you want to have it? Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I appreciate this. I mean, just getting into the nitty gritty and hearing from somebody that's actually living it, surviving it, and thriving in it is refreshing. Gives me hope. Lets me know that it's possible. I love the idea that, you know, you can take a pause a week or two into it and readjust and say, okay, it wasn't perfect, but I can make it better. And that's what we're all after, is just making things better. So I appreciate this.
Jamie, thank you so much for taking your time tonight to spend with us and just share some of your tips, your thoughts, your best practices around mindsets, around skill set. It's okay. So being vulnerable, it's good to be vulnerable and know that we're all learning. And then having the, you know, it's okay that if you're not a tech savvy person, you can learn it. And then you shared some great tools with us as well. So thank you so much for walking us through that. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to Jamie. I'm sure she would love to share, and seeing her Twitter feed, she loves to share resources and ideas. Another just kind of a thing for next week, if you all, for session 6, if you have a question or something you'd like us to chat more about, please email us, let us know, and we can get that lined up for next week. But until then, we're going to kind of focus on this mindset, skill set, tool set kind of idea now going forward. So anyway, Jamie, thank you so much. I'll let you close this out, or just say goodbye to everybody, or give a little closing thought, Jamie.
Well, thank you guys all for being here and listening to me. By no means do I, you know, I'm with you. I am in the trenches with you. But, you know, the biggest thing I think you can carry away into this, whether you're in the middle of it, you're starting it, is just to know that you are enough. You are doing enough. You are giving enough. And every day you show up for those kids, that is enough. And it doesn't matter if you are putting on some spectacular show, what you're doing, if you're showing up every day for those kids and you're committing to those kids for as long as that instructional period lasts during this journey, that is enough. And don't compare yourself to somebody else. Compare yourself to you yesterday. If you get better tomorrow, that's all that matters.
That's awesome. That's such good stuff right there. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thanks.
Somebody had a question about next week. It is Easter next Sunday, so maybe we do this Monday, Dave.
We'll make it work. We'll advertise it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's maybe aim for Monday just for next week. So, all right, great. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening, and you guys are doing an amazing job. Just know that you have a whole nation here supporting you guys and all the work that you're doing. So thank you so much. Keep rocking it out.